What a day we've got for you for the US Olympic team trials, where today we are focusing on the marathon for both the women and the men. And there's the snapshot of the weather for you. It's beautiful, I have to say, here in downtown Orlando. There's the hourly breaks for you. We might nudge 70 by the time that the front runners come to the finish line, which is right by where
American distance running.
And how about his teammate, Clayton Young?
This is such a great story. They train together. They do all of their workouts together. He really struggled the last few years with injury, but just had an unbelievable race at the Chicago Marathon and immediately stamped his way as one of the ones to beat.
What about the two-time and defending champ? We saw him at the top of the show, Galen Rupp. How's his form? How's his health? What kind of shape is he going to be in?
Well, Galen Rupp is the most decorated and experienced man in this field. It doesn't necessarily mean he needs to be in his most fittest form, right? He has so much experience. He can read the race. He knows how to come.
Field assembled at the line. And look, there's one of the runners on the left there, Abdi Abdirahman, who grabbed so much of the spotlight 4 years ago in downtown Atlanta to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics, of course delayed until 2021. But Abdi, boy, what a story. And he is a story again today. The men are away. The race for Paris has officially begun over 26.2 miles here in Florida. Orlando and Florida's first time ever hosting, Olympic marathon team trials.
And we see Mance and Young straight to the front there. I think a lot of the men in this field are going to be keen off of what those two do. They know they're in great shape. They know if you get out some of the nerves, get into a rhythm before you head back out. And also, as you run around those loops, you can see your coaches, you can hear your family members. It feels less intimidating. It feels more like a really intense workout than, you know, having your Olympic dreams on the line.
Just want to go back to Abdi Abdirahman there at 47. He is the oldest male entrant in marathon trials. What a day for Abdi. He turned it on in Atlanta. We'll see what he can do here today. We mentioned Paul Chelimo earlier. Paul's right there, front and center. And we'll see what it's like in his marathon debut. Yes, you know him from the track, multi-time Olympic medalist. But how's it going to be in these marathon trials? For those of you who know, downtown Orlando, the start was on Roslyn Street. Head down, as we showed you earlier, by one of the favorites in this race, Conner Mantz.
You know, if you follow any of the athletes training, a lot of them share their training on Strava. And Zach Panning's training has gotten a lot of chatter. You know, he's just been having such incredible workouts. And I was able to talk to him Thursday night. He's extremely confident. He's been here. He knows the weather. He's put in the work. I have to say, Conner Mantz is happy to have him take the lead so he can sit behind. And now we check in on Paul Chelimo here.
Chelimo's dropped back a few positions early on in the men's race over the first 6.5 miles. And they're into this first loop, this first 8-mile loop, which gives them a chance to see coaching staff, friends, family, and the fans in general multiple times. They'll know where the key areas are after the first loop, where they return, and they're running through all the different districts here of Greater Orlando and downtown Orlando.
And you know, Lee, that is one of the benefits, again, of Criterium courses. It's just you get in that rhythm, you know where the turns are, you really start to get familiar with the course as you go. Conner Mantz is probably loving that Zach Panning has decided to go in front here, because this is a very comfortable pace for Conner Mantz. He can just sit in now, turn off that emotional and mental energy, and ride this train for a little bit. But Zach Panning looks very good. He's very confident. He really wants to make a statement here at these Olympic trials.
So Clayton Young is just a couple further back. Clayton spoke very kind of outwardly and confidently that he enjoys the underdog title. You see him there in the red singlet, white cap. Now, he said there seems to be hubbub about everybody else but me. Does that annoy me? Yes, it does. But I'm going to thrive off that. I'm going to relish that opportunity of being the underdog, and I will show them.
Yeah, he has really embraced that. And it's funny to me to think that someone would write him off running 2:08.
Yeah.
But I guess they're just saying his career hasn't been as consistent. But it is consistent in the fact that every marathon he's done has been a massive improvement. And if he can replicate what he did in Chicago, he will be very dangerous out here today.
He wants to key off his performance in Chicago. And he and Conner Mantz, we've already documented how close they are. Training partners and friends, and he just said if we can replicate what we did in Chicago, we'll be in great shape.
You know, sometimes the athletes that try not to do more come to the trials healthy and in a little bit better spot than people who say
4 years ago. That would be an amazing story. Kibet is off to the left there. Galen Rupp has dropped out of this picture, but he's not that far back. And McConan tucked in behind Kibet. There's Galen in the background there, blue shorts, white top, white cap. Elkanah Kibet, the 40-year-old.
Notice, Lee, Conor Mantz is holding his fluids. He missed that first bottle, so he's really taking it this whole mile. He has it actually in his right hand, so you can't see it right now. But he's carrying that and making sure he gets everything he needs to get out of that since he missed that first bottle.
CJ Albertson is a little further back in that bright top. You can kind of see just center of your screen to the right. And CJ, you may have seen on social media, has been very open about how he's been training and in different ways. And he's been training in what he calls a homemade chicken coop.
It's truly impressive. He has these chicken lights on him. He has boiled water to make it humid. He has that temperature up as high as can be. And this is the dedication that the athletes are doing to make this Olympic team. He doesn't have the ability to travel and live here in Florida for weeks living up, so he's going to make it happen right at home. It's super impressive. He's just an all-around amazing athlete. He's the 50K world record holder, and he's done everything he can to be the best version of himself today.
He said there's 11 heat lamps. He said there's extension cords everywhere. It's quite the setup, but it's also quite effective in doing whatever was needed to be done to prepare for this first ever Olympic marathon trials in downtown Orlando. In addition to Dina Castas, Zach Panning, the 28-year-old from Fort Wayne, Indiana, is at the front of the men's pack. And that's not dissipating at all. Galen Rupp is on the back, blue shorts, white singlet, white cap. The two-time and defending champion, two-time Olympic medalist. He is still in the mix, and after basically 2 years away, if he could come back and make another Olympic team, that would be huge. There's still a long way to go. Up in Oregon, looking forward to that as we welcome you back to the marathon team trials.
Lee, this is interesting. Zach Panning has gotten them on pace. They are running sub 2:08 pace now. Everyone has this man to thank. He's really put himself out there. He knows he's capable of running these times based on practice, and he's decided this is one of those days where you take that calculated risk and you go out there and push. Everyone is filed single file behind him, reaping the benefits of him being in front, but he has decided this is the way he is going to make the Olympic team, by leading it and cutting that pace down.
And we can tell you that we're getting reports that Abdirahman may have dropped out, and likely Scott Forbel as well. We will follow up those stories when we come back. That would be a shame to lose two of the bigger names.
The local organizing committee has been amazing here in welcoming these athletes, and it's made people feel right at home.
Back to the men. And Zach Panning may not have been one of the headliners coming into this, but this 28-year-old from Indiana leads the field, leads the men's division, and it would be his first Olympic team. Now, it's all going to be time dependent. Remember, of the 3 allocated slots from World Athletics, the men have only unlocked 2 spots due to the times that they have put in, and that was at the Chicago Marathon last year for Zach Panning, for Conor Mantz, and for Clayton Young. So it's not their spots. They don't own them. They're 2 slots for Team USA.
That's exactly right, but if they keep this pace up, the 3rd spot will open up. Panning has really just taken this lead, narrowed it down. We've seen him checking his watch. He's very, very confident in his training. He's coached by the Hansons brothers. He knows their system. He can compare his workouts to their other great runners. They just passed halfway, and he is leading this group of men under that time qualifier. Everyone else in the field is thrilled right now because they are just following in behind Zach. He's doing the work. He's the one checking his watch and keeping the focus, and they're able to just ride this through and wait for a later point in the race when maybe they want to try to challenge him. So this is a big development on the men's side. Seeing them run this time, it's very impressive, especially in these conditions.
And I promised you that I'd follow up on a story for you when we went to the break. Can now confirm that Scott Forbel and Abdirahman have pulled out. Racing through the second half of this men's marathon as we welcome you back, Lee Diffie-Karagaucha. It's still Zach Panning at the front over Conor Mantz. What is happening with the 2-time and defending champ Galen Rupp on his comeback? and looking to perform, looking for a great day out here in Orlando, but he has dropped back a little.
He looks like he's struggling a little bit. His form isn't as fluid as it was before. This is where experience can come in for Galen Rupp. He knows that the race isn't over. They're still going to be on the course for a long time. If he can stay calm and gather himself, there's still a very good chance he could run himself onto the team. But certainly this isn't the race that he planned and imagined. He imagined that he'd be able to cover any and all moves.
Look, he had over the last couple of years, he's had surgery, significant surgery, and then there's been a comeback from that, the recovery, being healthy. He said that he has spent an enormous amount of time with several professionals on getting back to mechanics and basic mechanics, getting his big muscle groups to work correctly and in the most efficient way, and the way that they used to for him. Kind of got away, he deviated a little bit, and so it's been a long road back, but at the age of 37, this Olympic legend in distance running for Team USA, he's not giving up.
He won't give up, and he needs to stay like eyes up on this pack in front of him. Again, look at this pack. Conner Mantz looks so relaxed, and look at Clayton Young in 4th place, just tucked in there. You know, we haven't seen much of him. He's always been in the lead pack, but he's just sort of been tucking in and riding this thing out. He's going to carry these men to a fast time, and he said, you know, I don't care what anyone's done in the past. My training is good. I've shown I'm ready to go, and he's just gone out there. You see him checking his watch, so he is expending a little mental energy, making sure that he's keeping them on pace, but he looks really good. He hasn't faltered at all. He's continued to motor on and pull them to this quick time.
The two guys in Panning's draft, coached by two-time Olympian Ed Eyestone. That's Conner Mantz and Clayton Young. The two mates, the two friends, the two training partners. This is what they imagined it would be like. Running together, running for a spot to go and represent Team USA in Paris.
They've both talked about how they believe they are the two best Americans out there. Clayton Young actually got a little emotional when he talked about what it would mean to make an Olympic team with Conner Mantz, his good friend and training partner. They do almost all of their runs together, all of their hard workouts, and most of their easy runs. And they're like brothers. It would mean so much to them to make this team together.
There's a breakaway here. Look at this top 4-5. Andrew Colley is in the mix. And they make the turn for the 3rd and final loop. That last 8 miles to determine who is and who is not going to Paris. And look at that estimated finish at the moment. On pace for a 2:07. That'd make qualifying simplistic. That'd be the first 3 across the line, or the first 3 going to Paris.
That would be amazing and quite a testament. In these conditions, we'll see what happens over the final lap here.
Credit to Zach Panning, who has been at the front for such a long time. Quick reminder for all your track and field news, current events and behind the scenes with Team USA TF. Be sure to follow Team USA.
And he wasn't intimidated by anybody. He went out there and saw that no one was going to take him to a time fast enough and said, you know what, I know I can do it. I'm going to go to the front and make it happen.
Let's go back a few moments ago, show you a replay, and join Lewis Johnson for more. Lewis?
Well, it has been really something. The energy here in downtown Orlando has been just electric. And just a few moments ago, as they were passing by the water station, I watched the two, Conner Mantz and Clayton Young, getting their water, getting their wet hat, and then suddenly I saw Mantz turn around and he gave a hand slap to Clayton Young like, let's do this on this last lap. It was just an incredible thing to see, as they are clearly
away. And honestly, Lee, as long as these 3 athletes feel good inside, this is the dream situation. You've broken away, now you need to just protect your position. They have a little added pressure of running fast, but this is a good situation for them. It's break away and now just be as smart as possible from here to the finish.
By the way, we're broaching 70 degrees ambient temperature here at the moment, and I can tell you we're sitting on the edge of Lake Eola right downtown, under the Olympic standard here today to guarantee his spot. It doesn't mean just because he comes across, if he's got to beat these guys, he could grab one of those 2 spots actually that's been unlocked, and he could get his path to Paris. And you know what? You would say deservingly so, the way that he's run today.
100%. You know, I have noticed in the last mile or so, we are seeing a lot of strain on his face. He is fidgeting with his side a little bit, and the time has slowed down. That last mile slowed down quite a bit. And that's probably just the effects of all of the heat. Now, his lead over 4th place has continued to grow. So Zach Panning just needs to hold within himself. He doesn't have to do anything more than what he's doing right now. He needs to stay calm, know that he is safely in a third position in the top 3, and really ride this out. And if you can see the difference in the faces between Zach Panning and the 2 men behind him, Conner Mantz and Clayton Young just look so relaxed. They've really just taken advantage, as they should, of someone being willing to lead. And they're chatting. They've exchanged a high five. They look a little bit more relaxed than Zach Panning at this point. But Zach Panning's the one that has gotten them to this point. And we see Career here who was 4th at the last Olympic trials, in 4th place, but he also looks like he is feeling the effects of the weather. And that's why these hot races are so difficult, because when it hits you, it hits you. His eyes are looking down. He's not really looking up at them anymore. And he looks a little bit defeated, but you never know what might happen in that lead path.
Yeah. And again, that's exactly where Leonard finished in Atlanta 4 years ago, in 4th place, with a spot to Paris just agonizingly close, so close in front of him. You heard Kara refer to the heat. The temperatures here in downtown Orlando, 70 degrees at the moment with a slight breeze. And the course pretty much bathed in sunshine everywhere. There are some shade pockets, but and the athletes have been maximizing those.
I've got to think that Mantz and Young at some point are going to take over here and try to take the lead and run away with this championship. The 2 of them together, they look awfully like they're still bouncing off the ground. They're still poppy in their form. Everything is working well. Zach Panning is definitely in a different place than he was last lap, but he's able to maintain. He needs to just really maintain his position, keep a level head. But Conner Mantz and Clayton Young, it looks like they're waiting for an opportunity to pounce.
It's often spoken about with distance runners, his training partner Conner Mantz, and they have dropped Zach Panning. So Zach was trying to go with him and did for a little bit, but now the 2 training partners are in their stride, in air quotes.
You know, even though they're running so fast, that Olympic
in these men's Olympic marathon trials.
And we see Elkanah Kibet, he has Zach Panning in his sights, and at this point, he sees that his Olympic dream is right in front of him, and this is what can happen in the marathon. So much can happen at the very end of the race. So Kibet is trying to hunt down Panning. Panning is trying to hold it all together. What a performance and race he's put out there today. We just want to see him get across that line. He should be so proud of this performance. At this point, he's just really, really trying to hold it all together.
Kibet has competed at the last 4 World Championships in the marathon. See what he can do over these closing miles. He was 12 seconds behind Zach Panning. Lewis?
Lee, it is something to see the relationship between Conner Mantz and Clayton Young, and it's really coming into fruition in this moment. You talked about their experiences and going on the LDS missions and how they got out of shape because of their important work, the weight gain and coming back, and it was Ed Eyestone, their coach, who had experienced the same thing as a collegiate athlete on his mission, helped them get back to a great condition and to this moment. And as they finish up these last miles, I can just see Young really beginning to embrace what's happened. A guy a moment ago was on a bicycle and said, hey man, you're going to the Olympics. And Young looked over at him and
race 4 years ago, and now we see Elkanah Kibet closing in on Zach Panning. This is so tough to see. Zach Panning has done such a great job of really opening up this race for the men. But Elkanah Kibet is running his way onto his first Olympic team.
He sure has. And he is one of the athletes who has run that 2:11:30 or better, which is the quota reallocation standard for world athletics. And he moves himself into a top 3 position.
And he's 40 years old, Lee. He is 40 years old, still running and running well. He's a very, very consistent performer. Not necessarily someone who wins, but who's always in that pack, who's always very, very close to the podium. At this point, he looks very, very on top and in control of what he's doing.
They're going to proudly represent the Stars and Stripes in Paris this summer. Clayton Young's got a big smile on his face. He knows that they're almost there. Less than half a mile to go, embracing the atmosphere.
I mean, Clayton Young is just soaking this in.
What a feeling.
You know, people are lined the streets here, and they're waiting to see who comes around that corner. And Clayton, he still has some running. He has some running to do still. You know, Mance has gone to the arms. It looks like he's working hard, where Clayton is really just truly enjoying this. This is so special to see.
Listen, back in 1972, there was an intentional tie between Frank Shorter and Kenny Moore. I wonder if these two mates come across tied across the line.
I would not put it past them. I just feel you can see the joy on Clayton Young that this dream is happening. Conor Mance has wanted this for so long as well, and has always been a front runner and always pushed everything. But he's never, you know, this is his first realistic chance to make an Olympic team. They're running together, enjoying this together. They've dreamt of this step by step, day by day, to make this moment happen right now.
Clayton Young says this is what it's about. We're going to the Olympic Games for Team USA, and there is nobody else in sight. Here comes Elkhalana Kibet, though, just coming into shot, who ran his way into third. Think about Zach Panning in the background, but these two teammates from Utah are going to go. And Leonard Correa now has come to put the pressure on Kibet for that third place.
This is pretty special. These are the two men who unlocked those two American spots, and they are going to claim those two American spots. So well deserved.
Clayton Young on the left, Conor Mance on the right. It was the Chicago Marathon that put them in this place. And they are running their way to Paris. Conor Mance will take the win at the US Olympic Team Trials in the men's marathon. Conor Mance victorious over Clayton Young. Both men are going to Paris.
Look at this finish for thirdly. Career, who missed the team by one spot 4 years ago, comes from behind to come through and kick.
2:09:30 at the moment. He was denied a spot 4 years ago in Atlanta. He looks behind, he's by Kibet, so he's going to be under that 2:11:30, and he's just going to have to wait. He knows that he's got a shot to go to Paris. It's not guaranteed at this point, but he's put himself in the best possible position. Leonard Correa with a big smile and a big surge gives himself a chance to go to Paris.
It's been a long 4 years for him, and what a race out of him. Kibet finishes in fourth, and CJ Albertson, what a run in the second half to run himself into that fifth position.
There's the two guaranteed to go to Paris. Conor Mance, the winner, and his teammate Clayton Young, who, by the way, said earlier this week, a win for Conor is a win for me.
These are dreams coming true. I mean, this is just so special. We're watching people's dreams come true, and the fact that they train together and share this bond, this is something they will absolutely never forget. And it's just so much.
What's going on? This place is buzzing right now. As you can see there, a snapshot of the men's marathon results, the top 6 there at the bottom of your screen. For now, let's join Lewis Johnson with some gentlemen who are in celebratory mode. Lewis.
Of the way. Also, big shout out to Zach Panning, who led most of this race, that stuck himself out there, helped us pull away and secure this victory. Big shout out to him and the Hansons Project.